Good morning. My name is Natalia. I am here in Easley, South Carolina. It's been about 2 months since I filmed my last garden tour. And as you probably guessed, from March to May, everything explodes in the garden. So I want to show you all the changes that we have made, and there have been a lot of changes in the past 2 months. I'll start with some of the smaller ones, and then we'll go around the property, show you my full vegetable garden, my beautiful perennial flower garden, all of my trees. I have about 30 fruit trees on this property, and we're on 1 acre, so it's something to behold. And then a couple big projects that we were able to execute in the past 2 months. So we'll start right here in the fenced-in vegetable garden. So we protect this with a 4-foot fence from deer and critters, and that has worked really, really well. Outside of this garden, I have yarrow growing, and the raspberries, the golden raspberries are actually producing right now, and the red raspberries are just starting to redden. But we also have this giant lavender bush, and as you can see, raspberries like to spread. So these 3 plants here are really kind of taking over, and the plan is to gift new raspberry shoots to all my friends and family. So that's what I've been doing. I'm not really worried about it taking over so much yet, but I have a feeling every year moving forward I'll have probably 20 to 30 plants to give away, which, you know, is not a bad idea. I mean, each one of these plants cost me maybe $25 to $30. So, you know, if I can give it away for free and propagate these for others to save them some money, I think that is a good deal. So let's go into the veggie garden. So I planted these out about a week before our last frost date, which was on Good Friday this year. And a lot of this stuff has been here for the past year, or I've planted out last fall, and as long as it's blooming and it looks happy, I just leave it. So for example, these snapdragons here, this is probably the 3rd or the 4th flush this year. And so basically, I have to show you. So they're called snapdragons because if you squeeze them here, they look like little dragons. Look. Anyway, so that's fun. My son loves snapdragons for that reason. So anyway, but they love to bloom. They look super happy, and I'm just going to let them as long as they want to. This is borage. I got a couple tiny plants early in the spring, and they're just super happy. There's one here and one over there that I'll show you. And then over here, so crop rotation. In this section, I had my zucchini and my squash, my summer squash in this section. So this year, this section is all my peppers. I got a couple different I have a few different varieties, a couple plants of each one. This one is the Sunset Sweet banana peppers. And then I have these are also a sweet pepper, but they come in like a variety of colors. They go from red to yellow to orange to green. And you can see they're already putting on some peppers, and you can see there's baby banana peppers there. I bought these when they were about 2 inches, so they've put on a ton of growth in the last couple weeks. This is a jalapeno, and this is a jalapeno, and then these are my colored peppers, so red, orange, and green, and I'm not sure which one is which, but we'll see. Let's see. And then this one, oh, that's a yellow. I love yellow peppers, and so I got a couple of them because I feel like yellow peppers are sweeter than green peppers and all the other ones. So I got a couple of them. But this big giant parsley is from last year. I planted it last spring, and it's gone to flower and all that stuff. But I left it here, and the other yellow, the curly parsley is also there. But bees love it, butterflies love it. I've even seen hummingbirds on it. So I'm just letting the animals have these two plants until it starts taking over, which it kind of has. So let's sneak by here and go around here. Over here, I planted dill. There's a couple of plants of dill, and they've just kind of taken off. Again, I bought these when they were about 2 inches tall. And so in the past 2 months, they've really taken off. And we've used cuttings from this several times. So it's very happy here in this section. The oregano, I'm going to have to do a harvest because look at this thing. It's about 3 feet tall at this rate, and it's just super happy here. Over here, I have okra, but you can see at the beginning it had some powdery mildew. So I never spray around here, and I just let it kind of do its thing, and usually it just survives. So it's putting on new leaves that don't have mildew, and you can just, you know, let nature kind of take its course. I did pull off a couple like really bad leaves that were just in really rough shape at the beginning, just to kind of give it a fighting chance. But if you let plants do their thing, they usually recover. So I don't worry too much about it. Over here is carrots that I planted last year. And I've been kind of picking off of them, you know, for weeks now. So after these come out, I'm not really sure what I'll stick in this section, to be honest. Maybe sweet potatoes, because I do have some sweet potatoes that have kind of gone to seed from last year's harvest in the pantry. So I'll probably plant a couple sweet potatoes in this section. Over here, I've planted a bunch of tomatoes. And I don't know if I ever told you guys how I plant these things. I plant them sideways in the ground. So I pull off the leaves on the bottom part, and I only let the top couple leaves stick out of the ground, and it allows the roots to grow all along that buried stem, and it just makes them that much stronger. But so I have a whole bunch. This section is more, you know, the cherry style. This I actually got for free from another grower, and they're just volunteers from her garden. And she's like, stick it in there. So I had a kind of a dead spot there, and I popped that in there a couple days ago. This is this year's parsley. So I just plant one plant of each year, and you can see that's what happened to last year's. And you let last year's go to seed to feed the birds and the bees and the butterflies. But this year's, we're going to eat off of this year's plant. And these are garlic chives. This is another tomato here. There's some really cool purple cherry tomatoes here. And then these, they just look so healthy. I got this new little trellis system here. And I think these are actually meant for, you know, clothes at the clothing store, but you can get 3 of them, and they're pretty big, for like $30 on Amazon. And they're metal, and they work great. They'll probably get rusty eventually, but they are fantastic for trellising. So I got 3 of these. They come out to be about $10 each. Look at these snapdragons that are growing. These are from last year. And for Teacher Appreciation Week this year, I had my son take his teacher a big bouquet of these. And then that's another borage. I'm going to have to tie it up because it's very, very top heavy here. And it always seeks the sun. So you see, now that I lift it up, it's going to be sideways. So sometimes I wonder, like, if you don't catch them early enough, if it's even worth tying up, or just let it kind of go, because you can see it's growing side shoots. So all of these are going to be new flowers. So this whole thing is going to turn into a giant bush. probably by the end of the year, but borage is so pretty and I like it in the garden. Some more tomatoes, and look, our lettuce is going to seed. I'm not sure if it's going to be tasty, but we might have to pick this one and see if it's still edible. More tomatoes. Over here, we have our tomatillo tree, and I planted this one about 3 or 4 weeks ago. It's very top heavy, but look, it's covered in blooms. And I read somewhere recently, in the past like week, that you need at least 2 tomatillo plants to get fruit. So I was like, uh-oh, I only got one because, you know, we're not big tomatillo eaters. So I went and I got a second tomatillo plant and I put it right here with the basil. So now we have 2 tomatillo plants. Hopefully that's enough for them. And then I got 2 different varieties of eggplant. I only had two eggplants last year, and we had plenty of eggplants. So this year I got 3 because, you know, why not? So there's 2 of them here, and then I have another one in the other spot. Over here, I planted roselle seeds. And roselle is an edible hibiscus, and you can make, you know, tea out of it. You can eat it fresh. It has like a very sour taste to it. It's delicious. And then our beets are just about ready to go. They're starting to fill out. I planted these last fall, so beets are probably going to come out. I'm not sure what I'm going to replace it with. Over here, we have cucumbers, and I did some succession planting here. So I put these in first, and then I put these in here after. And they're going to climb on this trellis, but you can see we already have some baby cucumbers that are going to grow. So, you know, happy little plants. I did have some powdery mildew in the first couple weeks, but they seem to have recovered and they look happy. So we've had a ton of rain in the past couple weeks, so that has been very helpful for that. All right, this section I planted a few dill seeds. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and dill is really good in salads, really good in food, soups and stuff like that. So I don't think we can have too much. So, and I had some seeds in a packet, so I was like, oh, I'll just put them in. Over here in this section, I have my crookneck and my straight neck squashes, and I only got a few plants of each. I think there's 4 here, and then my zucchini, I only have 2 zucchini plants. I do have a problem with the squash vine borer quite a bit each year, and so, you know, I just wanted to minimize the damage, but they look happy here. Watch out for the walking onion, and they do walk. I have to show you how this works. So over here, this is a really good example of how they work. So walking onions, they create this little shoot, and these are baby onions. And then look, this little shoot created another little shoot. And you can actually plant these if you want to. And then you get walking onions. They walk all over the place. Anyway, but don't step on them. Over here, I have red vein sorrel and a whole lot of violets. They're kind of taking over the yard. I try digging them up as much as possible, but I think I'm losing this battle. Over here, the red vein swirl seems happy, so I'm just gonna let it go, and then some of it's gone to seed, so it'll probably spread out in this section and kind of take over the violets. This section is empty because violets. And then I do have some onions that I planted. I don't know if they're just not happy here because there's not enough sunlight. We're right under this giant oak tree, so I just let it kind of do its thing. If we get some heads developing, great. If we don't, that's okay too. Section of the walking onions are over here, and the dinosaur kale I actually planted last fall, and it's very happy here. So we just let it go. and let it grow. Over here I have some rhubarb, and it's I didn't know. I heard that you can't grow it here, but I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna try, and it just looks super happy here. So we'll definitely get some rhubarb this year, but I don't know if it will die out in the summer. Our garlic is almost ready for picking, so I'll probably pick these here in the next couple weeks, and then use this bed for, I think, winter squash. I'll put winter squash in this section. And then over here on this trellis that I put together, we have beans. So we have bush beans along on the inside there, so they're not going to grow too far up. But then I have pole beans on this half that will grow up the trellis. And then over here, I planted some butterfly pea plants, and those will grow up, and they have these beautiful blue flowers, and you make tea with them. And the tea is actually kind of fun because if you put lemon or lime in there, the blue turns bright pink, and it's just like a fun science experiment. It's great. The kids love it, all that good stuff. The Swiss chard is still going. This we planted in August of last year, and it's very happy here, so we just let it go. Over here I have melon. So I think I have a cantaloupe and a melon. This is a volunteer cosmos that was growing right there in the walkway, so I just moved it into the bed. I have more roselle plants here, and they seem to be doing okay. And then over here I established some asparagus. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, and now it's probably going to take a couple of years for that to take off. But I planted an eggplant here, and I planted a couple more, 3 more okras. And those okras is for pickling. So last year 4 was enough for like fresh eating, but if I want enough for pickling, I needed a couple more. So I decided to just put 3 more in there. Excuse me. We have here carrots, and they are doing their thing. I don't know if these are like going to seed or what, but you know, they didn't have much of a head this year. And I don't know if I planted them at the wrong time or what happened there, but see, they're not very impressive. Lots of green, and I don't know if it's an issue. Look at that. I mean, they're pretty big. I don't know if it's an issue with nutrients or the time of year that I planted them or what, but we'll just let them kind of do their thing. Oh, and I have a couple different watermelons there. So that's the garden. Lots of weeds, lots of different plants. The vegetables that I intend to grow seem to be very happy. I did do some soil tests here, and so the ground here is fabulous. And we'll just see what happens here in the next couple months. It's going to really start taking off. We do already have some fruits developing, and it's a good day in the garden. So watch out for the poison ivy here. So we have this area. It's very shady. It looks a little crazy, but we do have some poison ivy that I helped pull, you know, and pokeweed and stuff like that. So we'll clean this up. But I wanted to show you these vines here. These are American ground nuts or hopnuts. And you eat the tubers, and they're like little round tubers, but they are super high in protein. They're native to this area. The Native Americans used to eat them quite a bit, and not a lot of people know they exist. But yeah, they're starting to climb all over this fence, and I'm just going to give this section of the yard to them, and then in the fall, maybe you and I together can dig them up and see what they taste like. So I'm excited about that. Over here, I planted some Jerusalem artichokes, and they are taking off. So those are also tubers that you can eat. My star jasmine, I gave it a massive haircut, and it's seems to be happy about it. And then these, I don't remember what they're called, but I planted one plant and I let it go to seed, and this is what I got. Kind of tastes like basil, so it could be purple basil or it could be something else, but either way, it's edible. So I'll just let it go. There's a couple mints that survived in that barrel, so we'll let them do their thing. Here is a beauty berry bush. There's not a lot of sun back here, but it seems to be very happy, so we'll let it grow. I did plant a small eucalyptus over here, and I want it to get really big. And it should be pretty cool with the elderberries growing here. And then underneath, this is the huckleberry that I planted that I thought was dead. And this is the original plant. And I just broke it off, and I was like, okay, I guess we don't have huckleberries. But the other week I came out here and it was putting out new shoots. And honestly, I'm not even sure if it's huckleberry because I see a peanut. So I'm thinking the squirrels might have planted peanuts because this looks suspiciously like a peanut. But we're about to find out if that's a peanut or a huckleberry. So let's go over all of the trees and berry bushes that we have growing on the property. Because there's a lot. Over here is a Carolina spice bush, and this is native to the area. I got it when it was still dormant, so I wasn't sure if it was going to live, but we have the Carolina allspice. Behind you are all the fig trees that I thought were dead, and they did die back all the way to the ground, but they are all recovering. So I have 4 different types of figs, and I don't remember which one's which, so we'll label them when they set fruit, and we'll see. Over here is a plum tree, and it has no fruit on it. I actually did that on purpose. I pulled off all the fruit because it was having some kind of spider mite or aphid issue, and so I sprayed it with insecticidal soap. And that fixed the problem, but I didn't want to eat the fruit off of it this year. So it looks healthy, it looks happy, but it has no fruit. This is a gooseberry that I just planted yesterday. I got it in the mail from Stark Brothers, and it likes to grow near plums, so we'll make that happen. And this is our new mailbox. So we put this mailbox in a couple months ago, and someone hit it with their vehicle, so it's dented, but we haven't gotten around to getting the new mailbox. Under here, under the trellis, I put passion fruit vine. So there's a couple vines here that are growing, and they're called maypops around here, and they're hardy passion fruit, and so they'll grow up this trellis here. And then we have a salvia, and I just moved this into a sunnier spot because this is a sunnier spot, but these are sunflowers, like a narrow leaf perennial sunflower. So hopefully those will grow pretty tall, and it's going to look really pretty out here. And then I have a little volunteer baby hosta. So there you go. I'm just going to leave it there and see. It seems to want to live there. So this is an Asian pear. No fruit on it this year, but it has grown about. So these are the cuts that I made during the winter. And so all of this is new growth. All of this is new growth. So everything, it was basically just 2 branches that ended about right here in the fall. And now all of this is new growth. So that's very exciting. Over here is an apricot tree. And this has put on a little bit of new growth, but not very much. It's growing very slowly. No fruit on this one either, but we'll see. I mean, it put on leaves and it put on, flowers and stuff like that. So maybe next year it will grow some fruit. This is a loquat tree that I just planted, and loquats are an interesting fruit. They kind of look like a cross between a citrus fruit and an apricot or a plum. And this should grow to about 15-20 feet, but you can keep it pretty short. But that's a fun little Mother's Day gift that I got. And then this here is a Fuji apple. This one doesn't have any apples on it. And so I don't know if it's fully healthy. So we'll see. It's one of those watch and wait kind of situations. This one is another Asian pear, and this one actually has 3 little pears on it, which is kind of exciting. So, and this is not put on any new branches, but it has grown quite a bit and it has fruit, so that's very exciting. Now if we go over, well, let's do this one first. So this is an Alberta peach, and a couple of the branches died over the winter, this one and this one. I don't want to cut it this year, but I think I'm going to just let this one go, and then it looks like it's trying to put out a couple new branches here. And then these leaves here are above the graft, so this should be part of this tree. So I might let these grow and see what happens. So this tree is a work in progress. No fruit on this one either this year. And then if you go over here, this is our blueberry patch. There's blueberries and sages here, and the blueberries are about to ripen. See, that one is, you know, less than a week away. So not a ton of blueberries on the newer plants, but this one in the middle is going to have a ton of fruit on it here in about 2 weeks. So it's very exciting. And all of these are in different stages of development. So it looks like I'm going to have, you know, fruit for the next 3 months or so. And then these are little pawpaw trees. So our pawpaws over the winter were just this one stick. And you can see this whole branch here has grown, and this whole branch has grown. And this one woke up from winter, from dormancy, pretty late. I think it only started growing in April. So that's a lot of growth for a month and a half. So, and then this one here has also done the same. So see, this one was just a stick. And so you can see this and this branch and this branch are all new growth. And then you can see I planted a comfrey over here. And this is the one that spreads by roots and divisions. I heard that comfrey is really good for pawpaw trees. So I decided to get a plant and establish it here. Over here I have a ninking cherry, and this one woke up and is putting on new growth. It'll probably be a couple more years before I get any fruit. But it looks very happy. You can see this entire branch is new, and this entire branch is new. This branch is new, and this branch is new. And it's interesting how it likes to kind of take over, you know, over time. So this is the Pink Lady apple, and it does have some apples on here. So not a lot, and I actually thinned them out just because I didn't want to, you know, I wanted to give this tree a fighting chance to actually spread out a little bit more. But there are some apples here. And then I have some comfrey growing at the base of this one. And then this is a pomegranate tree, and I have another one around the corner in the flower garden that I'll show you guys. But all of this growth here, this is all new growth. So that's at least 6 inches, you know, 6 to 12 inches of growth here in the last month and a half. So I'm really excited to see, you know, what it looks like. Over here, the star jasmine, if you remember, I gave it a massive haircut. And it's blooming right now, and it smells amazing, but it's putting on a ton of new growth. Like all of this is new growth. So this is gonna, you know, probably need to get cut back quite a bit again this year. And jasmine's just like that. It likes to get cut back. You basically have to cut it back like 2 weeks after the blooms happen, because it starts to set buds for the following year. And so you have to do your cuts before it sets buds for the next year, so you can have a ton of flowers every year. And then over here is our trellis system. You remember I had these little 2 sticks poking out of the ground for the kiwi? Well, they've taken off. And that little guy over here, watch out for all these little plants. Look, it's just it grows about 6 inches a day. I mean, it's wild how fast this thing grows. And I have nasturtiums that are probably going to climb up here as well. And then the chives are taking off. And then I have red vein swirl here and some rosemary. This rosemary is from last year and it's really starting to take off. And then I have some German chamomile that just started flowering, which is awesome. And then I have St. John's wort over here and a lavender over here. And you remember those 2 sticks that I had that were supposed to be a grape? Well, they've started to put on new growth. So all of these green stems or vines are all new growth this year, and I'm just thrilled that they woke up. And then that's a stevia plant, and that's a couple more chamomiles over there. And then you can see these leaves here are all nasturtiums. Nasturtiums are actually edible. You can eat them in salads. It's fantastic. But we've been eating strawberries out of this garden for the past several weeks. And so these strawberry plants I planted last year, and they are so healthy. Look how big the leaves are. They're just super happy in this spot. And there's strawberries on them, and these are ever bearing, so hopefully we'll get strawberries all year. The muscadines are putting on fruit, and you can see there's a ton of baby muscadines everywhere on this thing. And I don't know if you saw the March video, but none of this was here. And I actually cut it back quite a bit this morning because I needed to organize it a little bit. It was just getting out of control. Over here, I have lemon balm growing, and that's very happy and really good in tea. And then our tarragon woke up in the spring, and that seems to be very happy. This grape, all of this is new growth. And you can see it's just taken off. This is the grape that I planted last year. And then look, we'll have to go to the other side, but you can see, look at these grapes. This is the Concord grape that was here when we moved in. And we only had a couple little bunches like this last year, but this thing is loaded. If you go on this side, look at all the grapes that are growing on this thing. It is just ridiculous. We're gonna have like quite the bumper crop here. And I'm thinking I believe this is the 3rd year. So you know what they say, first year they sleep, second year they creep, 3rd year they leap. I think this is leap year for these grapes. All right, and then over here is a patio peach, and look how many peaches we have growing on this thing. There's about, I don't know, 8 or 9 peaches, and then there's some over here, and then there's some over here, and this thing won't get past like 6 feet, so I just can't believe how much has grown. And then our lemongrass, our catnip, and then spearmint and peppermint are all growing here. And this is a thornless prickly pear cactus. I just got this a couple weeks ago because I heard it's edible and it has pretty yellow blooms, so I'm excited about it. I have some pineapple guava. I got 2 of these plants and they were really root bound, so I was like, ooh. So I massaged the rootstock and kind of pulled it apart a little bit, planted it in this spot. And you remember the mulberry used to be here, and I'll show you where I moved the mulberry because our mulberry was getting eaten by deer every other week. And the deer don't seem to like the pineapple guava. And this grows in this area. So I planted it here, and you can see it's already starting to put on new growth. Like you can see all these little leaves. These are all new leaves. Like the fuzzy ones are new. And then over here, I planted some zinnias. And so these are zinnias. So they'll get huge and pretty. And I'm excited about that. we've had so much rain that the grass has been growing like gangbusters. And these are tea plants. And so these light leaves here are new tea leaves. So you can see the dark ones, those are from last year. So we've had about 4 to 6 inches of growth on both of them. You can see. And what we do to spread them is you take one of the branches that are like lying low to the ground and you basically bury it. And then the part that you bury starts to put down roots. And so you have a second plant. And so basically you take that branch once it's rooted and then you move it to a spot. So this entire area, part of our garden is going to be basically a small tea hedge, which is going to be fun. This is a nectarine, and there's one nectarine here, and I don't think it's edible, but I mean the plant is putting on new branches and new leaves. This is definitely one of the sleep or creep years for this plant, but it will look pretty. Over here is the bare root persimmon, and this is one of the Asian ones. But look, this thing was just a stick, and you can see all of these new branches that it's putting on. You see all this green? That's all new growth since it woke up this year. And then over here, our last tree, and I saved this one for last because I'm excited. You remember the Stella cherry that we have that was about this big and that didn't wake up in the spring? Well, I looked into it and it was actually dead. So I bought this Stella cherry, which was basically a stick, about a month ago. And so I planted it and I did all the right things with the roots. And so I figured out once I pulled up the old Stella cherry why it died, and I had girdled the roots. So I had taken the roots and put them in a circle, and so once the roots started growing, it like choked the tree out. So I made sure to not do that this year. And then so it's putting on all this new growth here and here. And so we'll see what the shape of this tree is going to look like. I'm not going to do anything for at least a year and just let it kind of decide what its growth habit is going to be. But it's alive and well. And then this, I planted a josta berry, and I got this from Stark Brothers yesterday, and I just tucked it in the ground. It likes to grow near cherries, but it's already got green buds, so I have high hopes for this josta berry because I wanted to grow one just to see if it grows. It does say josta berry likes up to zone 7, and we're in zone 8A, but I'm hoping that here in the shadow of the cherry tree or whatever, it'll be pretty happy. So we'll see. All right, we're on to the wilderness section of our yard. This site needs to be weed whacked because we have too many things growing. But let's start with this beautiful almond tree. And we have one almond growing, and it looks like something's already eating it. And I just let that one go just because I want to see what it looks like. But look, you see all of these branches? This branch here, this is like 4 feet of growth in a month and a half. It's insane. So all of these branches, this one starts all the way down here and all the way up. That's about 3 feet of growth. This thing is exploding, and it's just making me so happy right now. And then you see these little flags. I have a bunch of little flags. I planted ginger and turmeric all over here. So hopefully it will grow up and we'll have like a little meadow of ginger and turmeric growing in this section to kind of choke out all of the weeds that are here. And then you can see this is our hazelnut. And so they seem happy and they're growing very slowly. So, you know, that creepier is real, y'all. And look, there's another one right here. And this is the one that we've cut down with a weed whacker a couple times. So I'm just happy that it's putting out new shoots and it's actually alive. We got some pokeweed to clean up over here, some chameleon plant to clean up. But this is the surprise that I had earlier. This is hopness. This is the American groundnut. And I had planted some last year in the spring. I didn't think they took or anything like that, but it looks like one of them survived and it's growing up the fence. And so that's exciting. Over here, blackberries. And so this is a blackberry bush. We're going to have blackberries soon. It looks very happy here in the weeds. And then there's a couple more blackberries that are kind of taking off over here. Look, we got more hopness. And this is crazy. So they're all alive. Look, these are American groundnuts. Oh, I'm so excited. I got to train them out this wall so it doesn't choke out the raspberry. But anyway, 3 of our hopness seeds survived. And so I'm very excited about that. Look, this is why we try to get rid of Bradford pears. I don't know how many times we've cut this down, but these stupid things just keep coming out of the ground. And it's almost impossible to get rid of these stupid Bradford pears. And I really don't want to use herbicides or anything like that, so I'm trying to figure out what to do about it. And over here, this is a paper bush, my ashwaghanda. And so this is going to grow as a bush. It's been trained as a tree, but I have a feeling it's probably going to put out some new shoots. And this is going to be gorgeous in the winter. So I'm very excited. Over here, we have a different variety of blackberry, and it's starting to turn. So we'll have blackberries here soon. Over here, I planted some black cohosh. And as you can see, this tree stump, this used to be a 45-foot tall sweet gum tree. And we got rid of that in April. So this little area has a lot more sun. It's still very wild. I have to clean it up. But I also planted I don't know if you see that tag there, but I planted a bay leaf tree over there. And it's actually a very sunny spot because the sun goes across this way. And so it's sunny all throughout the day. And it likes to have a full sun location, but without this tree here and without the Leland cypresses here, it should be very happy in this spot. So I'm very excited. So over here, you can see this wild mess. These are actually plants that we're going to put into a pollinator garden at the train station in Clemson. And we're doing this afternoon with the Girl Scouts. And so these, I basically just collected them from people in and around Clemson. So these are black-eyed Susans, and like there's 4 boxes of them. So we'll plant black-eyed Susans. These are swamp milkweed, the orange ones, and I got them out of a yard in Clemson. These are goldenrods that I got out of a yard in Easley. They just had them volunteer. And so they're like, yeah, you can dig up as many as you want and you can plant them. I'm like, awesome. And then we have some native esters that we got from a yard in Clemson. There's another goldenrod that we got from the same yard. And then we got devil's walking stick. And we're going to plant this up on a hill. And then we have some Carolina allspice bushes that we're going to plant up on the hill because they have a lot of Bradford pear and elm invasive volunteers. So we're going to replace those invasives with native aggressive plants. So these Carolina allspice and then the devil's walking sticks, they both are very aggressive native plants. So it'll be good for that area. Ta-da! I don't know if you remember this, but we used to have 3 50 or 60 foot Leland cypresses here that were just leaning every which way, that looked raggedy. So we had those cut down, and I left this section pretty big because we are a certified wildlife habitat. And so this is just a home for critters. You see, like there's little spots and stuff like that. So great place for, you know, frogs and snakes and insects to kind of burrow and hang out in. Excuse me. So I'm gonna leave it as is. Now, down here on the bottom, what I did was I planted a sort of medicinal garden. We'll start over here. Oh, I have to tell you, there's going to be two primary trees that we replaced. So these are pecan trees. I have one here and I have one over there. This one is a Pawnee, which is a type 1, and then that one is an Elliot, which is a type 2. And you need to have both types within a certain distance of each other, and they have to be compatible in order for you to have fruit. So that's why I chose the Pawnee and the Elliot, and they came in these sticks from fast growing trees, and now they are starting to put out leaves. So it's very exciting. They're alive, they're happy. I have some stinging nettle that I planted here in pots. Stinging nettle is very painful if you touch it the wrong way because it has a toxin in it, but it's delicious. And my grandma used to make it in soups. So love that. Very excited to have those in pots. And then over here, I have a bunch of medicinals. So like I have like feverfew, tulsi basil. Ironweed is more of a decorative thing. Let's see, we got skullcap here, we got mullein, we have arnica, we have sweet Annie, we have lemon balm, we have purple gomphrena here, we have marshmallow. Oh, and I ordered valerian root as well. Oh, this is a toothache plant right here. And then we have bone set here. And then we have ashwaghanda. And then we got astragalus right there around the corner. And so, and then I'll back behind the trees, I'll put valerian root as well. And then over here is where I moved the goji berry. So goji berry, it's leafed out. It's not putting on any fruit, but goji berries are really good for you. So I'll have it growing in my little chaotic medicinal garden for now. And over here, you can see I have quite the little shade garden growing. And I don't think I showed you this last time because most of this was still kind of dormant. So the hostas, we have brunnera, I believe, and then lunwort. I have columbine, and then I have a stilby here, a bunch of coral bells, and lentil roses, and this is actually leotris. So all of it's growing, all of it seems to be happy. We just have to give it a chance to fill in. Oh, these are elephant ears. And I forgot I had planted them here last year, but now this is actually a sunny spot. So we'll see how the elephant ears do out here this year. All right, so very quickly we'll go over the patio plants that will live in the sunroom for the winter. We got avocado, and it hasn't put out any new leaves that I know of, or maybe it has and I just don't know. We got a kumquat. This is the lemon tree that lost all its leaves, but it's recovering, and it even has one little flower, so we'll see. This is a lime tree. It has a ton of little flowers, but I don't see any fruit. This is a calamandan tree, and then this is a Meyer lemon, and it's just covered in flowers. So I have no idea if we'll have at least one fruit this year. And this is another avocado. And then I have a couple more citrus trees around the property. But this is my little tropical fruit collection that will live inside in the winter, but it's very happy outside in the summer. Check out my olive tree, and look, all of this new growth here. We have all of these young leaves, and look, I think we might have a little baby olive. We'll see. We'll see. It's still a baby. We'll give it time to grow, but it looks very happy on the patio. If you remember, I have that mulberry tree, and this is a dwarf mulberry that was getting chewed up every other day. So I dug it up and I planted it back here, and it had transplant shock. So the thing looked like it was dying. But after a week, it recovered, and look, all of these new branches, it's taken off. So hopefully by this time next year, we'll have mulberries to eat. And then look at these honeyberries. They just look so happy here. And these are two different varieties that are compatible with each other. So hopefully by next year we'll have honeyberries. Anyway, so that is our yard. I have hundreds, and I've made several lists. As far as medicinals, I have over 75 different medicinals. We have about 30 fruit trees on this property. We didn't even cover the flower garden today, and there's about 50 to 100 different species of perennial flowers in that garden. And then as far as berry bushes, I think I have about 32 different varieties of berries that are growing on this property. And we're on 1 acre. And it's wild to me how much can fit in this section. I am aware that once everything starts growing and, you know, dwarf root stalks are not quite dwarf like, I might need to thin stuff out, but it is blowing my mind what's able to grow in this area in zone 8A in South Carolina. So I hope you enjoyed my rambling tour of the yard, and follow us for more. There's going to be a ton to harvest, a ton to look at, and just watch with me what happens in 5 years once all of these 30 trees grow in, and realistically what it would look like and what that experience would be with that many and that high of a density planting in such a small area. It could work out, or we could crash and burn. Who knows? But it's the journey that matters. And I hope you guys have a great day.